Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katrina and this is Katrina Reads. So this is also going to be my March wrap up, as I thought I'd sneak in one more book, but it's the 28th and I'm probably not going to. So first, since the last time I told you about what I was reading when I did the March TBR so far, so that's what this is, I finished Rain Shout, which I will have a separate quick bites. Well, it's going to be just a book chat. It turned out to be a book chat on there. I gave 4 stars. I'm going to leave it at that so that maybe you'll go and watch that video. Same thing with Midnight Library. It got 2 stars. I put that's already been up on the channel. That was a distressing book for me to read, just because the ending had a really, I believe, terrible message. Homegoing, I DNF'd it. Homegoing by Yad Gyasi. I don't know if I'm saying it right. I DNF'd, but I think I will revisit that book. And as I was listening to it, the first issue I had was, it was really, so the idea of it sounds great, but I feel like, and again, I hope I don't come across sounding, I'm not saying this with any kind of hubris. I'm saying this as a reader. I would have loved to have this idea in a trilogy, because she goes to, like, I think it starts in 1740, I think she says, at that big white castle. If you pay attention to any slave stuff and you go and you look on the Gold Coast, there is a castle that's still there where the slaves were kind of processed through. So it starts there, and there's 2 sisters. They're half sisters. One marries a slave seller, I can't think of the right name right now, and one is sent off and enslaved. She's sent to America, and then we go through and we follow their descendants for like 8 generations, and each chapter goes back and forth between, and first of all, it starts off, you start off struggling because their name is Effie and Essie. So I was already like, okay. And they have the thick accents at first. Now the narrator does a great job, because the accents change throughout the generation and he changes them. That's awesome. He spends a lot of time with the earlier group of women, with the earlier group. Like, you really get to know the women in the town and the big man, the tribal chiefs, I guess, who have multiple wives, and you get to you really get to understand Essie and Effie and what's going on. But with that understanding, you are in that boat with, I think Effie is the one that gets sent to America. And you are in that boat with her. And you are smelling, feeling, experiencing what it's like to come over, to be stuffed into a boat as human cargo and brought over. And so it started off where I was just like, I gotta stop this for a while. And I feel like if we were going to do something like this, what's a good I don't know, I feel like I would have loved something like this done with the treatment of like Outlander, where you really fall in love with the people. So maybe just do, I don't know how to explain it, but like make it romantic, and you really fall in love with the families. And I'm not saying that slavery is romantic, because when you read Jamie and Claire's life in Outlander, they go through everything. They get beat, they get, both of them. Spoilers for Outlander. Spoilers for Outlander. Spoilers for Outlander. So you can stop, spoilers. They get raped, both of them. They get beat. They get separated from each other. They get almost killed. They lose livelihood. Just they lose children. So a grand story told over decades can happen, and you can kind of focus and still have stuff going on. There's all kinds of, you know, historical stuff going on in Outlander. Like right now, I think the is it the TV? I don't know if I'm mixing the TV show up with the books, but I think on a TV show we're getting to the place where America is starting to go, okay, we're gonna have to fight the Revolutionary War. So they've gotten to that place. So, and that happens throughout the story, where, you know, going from Scotland all the way to America, there's all these things that are happening. They go to Jamaica, there's stuff that happens in Jamaica. They come in contact with slaves in Jamaica and things like that. And so I feel like if she had taken the history and spread it out over a course of a duology or a trilogy, or even just a bunch of books, like I said, because she does like 8 generations, just, you know, do a generation, do a book a generation, fill out the characters, really put some love and care in building up the characters a little bit more. That would have been a little bit easier to deal with. Give them some triumphs and stuff like that. So, but I had to DNF for a while. The next book that I DNF'd actually this month was They Were Her Property: White Women as Slave Owners in America. This one, I only have 3 hours left with the book, in the book, and I thought it would be more so talking about white slave women and their connection to their actual enslaved people that they had on their property. I thought it would be more kind of explanation for why we have such a weird issue with white women today. Karens, women, you know, that whole phenomenon. Those of us who have worked with white women know that there's a special thing going on there. White tears can be turned against you. HR, like it's just this whole thing, and I misread. Maybe I didn't pay attention to the back, and so I thought that that's more so what was going to be the thought process. But it really was more about women and their, like, our misunderstanding of women's rights and property women. We have this idea that women had no property of their own. They had no say when it came to the property. When they got married, any property that they had would go to the husband, and even, you know, but that wasn't the case. And the thesis, this author's thesis, was that these women who were gifted or gifted slaves through their family. It would come through wills. They were protected through wills and trusts and things like that. And then they would run their version. Like, so if their husbands had enslaved people and he decided to punish them a certain way or whatever, and she decided to do a certain thing, he wasn't allowed to mess with her slaves and things like that. And if the male was a ne'er-do-well, if he decided, well, I don't care what your trust says, I'm going to still take this person and sell him or whatever, that the slave owning woman could go and ask for redress in court. And there was, the author provided proof after proof after proof after proof after proof that the courts more often than not sided with the woman who owned the slaves. And that went on for so, like I said, I only have 3 hours left, and it's like, okay, I get it. The slave women, and she actually says outright, we have a incorrect understanding of women in the, 19th century, if it's 1800. Yes, we have of them being, you know, wilting flowers under their husbands or whatever. And that, you know, and of course there's men who probably beat their wives or you know, overcome them in some way. And even, you know, when their parents tried to protect their property, that property was taken from them. But more often than not, these women had slaves, and it was protected, it was their own property, and the courts backed them up. That was the thesis, and that was said over and over and over again, and the author just gave proof after proof after proof after proof from slaves, from the women themselves, from deeds and wills, and from court cases. And I was like, this is not what I wanted to hear. Okay, I get it. And you didn't have to keep, and it was dry. Another author who did a better job of talking about the experience of enslaved people, the way that didn't do it, was Edward Baptist. I don't know if I should call him Baptiste or Baptist, but he did the half that hasn't been told, the half that has never been told. And he talks about enslaved people and forced labor camps as the engine of capitalism, and the difference from reading his book and reading Sarah, oh, I didn't write it down. I'm just going from my notes. Sarah's book is like when you were in a dry professor's lecture hall versus being in those professors who just, no matter if you cared about the subject at first or not, the professor really got you into it and they loved it, or they presented it well or whatever. This was the difference. She was dry. It was just repetitive. I got the point halfway through the book. I kept going, wondering if there was something else, and it was like, okay. So this one I'm not going to be going back to. I finished was Lies She Told. It was supposed to be one of those palate cleansers that I like a domestic. It was a domestic thriller, but it was just convoluted beyond all belief. So I gave it 2 stars. So this is, let me see if I can. It's a long book description. Liz Cole, one successful novelist whose career has seen better days, has 1 month to write the thriller that could land her back on the bestseller list. Meanwhile, she's struggling to start a family, but her husband is distracted by the disappearance of his best friend, Nick. As stresses weigh her down in her professional and personal lives, Liza, did I call her Liza? Liza escapes into writing the chilling exploits of her latest heroine, Beth. Beth, a new mother, suspects her husband is cheating on her while she's home caring for their newborn. Angry and betrayed, she aims to catch him in the act and make him pay for shattering the illusion of their perfect life. But before she realizes what she's doing, she's tossing the body of her husband's mistress into the East River. Then the lines between Liza's fiction and her reality eerily blur. Nick's body is dragged from the East River, and Liza's husband is arrested for his murder. Before her deadline is up, Liza will have to face up to the truth about people around her, including her own. If she doesn't, the end of her heroine's story could be the end of hers. Now, this story could have been good, but it had 2 narrators. So it's from 2 points of view. It's Liza, and then it's Beth. Beth is the fictional character, but I don't even know. It was so, even with 2 different narrators, I couldn't tell who was who. It was so convoluted. And then by the end, I don't know, let's say I was listening to it, so the last 20%, it just completely derailed. And I was just like, I get that that's the thing nowadays, is domestic thrillers. Since Gone Girl, everybody wants to write a domestic thriller, and none of the people are likable, and somebody's dead, and then there's 15 twists at the end. But this one did it too much. There was too many twists. Come on. And I was so through. I was exhausted. I was actually kind of physically exhausted when I was done with that book, and it put me in a reading slump. It literally put me in a reading slump, and I just kind of was like, and I didn't read for like 2 days, and there's always something going. And I think I even took a break off that night from reading to the kids. It put me in a reading slump. So I also started listening to Needful Things, and then I'm gonna listen to. This is all AJ Dunn's fault, but I'm going to. They just ignited Stephen King thing back into me again. But Needful Things Leland Gaunt opens a new shop in Castle Rock called Needful Things. Anyone who enters his store finds the object of his or her lifelong dream and desires: a prized baseball card, a healing amulet. In addition to token payment, Gaunt requests that each person performs a little deed, usually a seemingly innocent prank played on someone else from town. These practical jokes cascade out of control, and soon the entire town is doing battle with itself. Only Sheriff Alan Pangborn suspects that Gaunt is behind the population's increasingly violent behavior. Only thing I have to complain about, I'm 22% into Needful Things. And I have already heard about the little boy's penis multiple times. He likes his teacher. That's a normal thing. And then he has one of those dreams where he wakes up naked. Okay, normal. But why does the teacher, why do we have to hear about the teacher jacking him off in the dream? Why do we have to hear about him getting hard multiple times? And Stephen King has a really bad habit of that in other books too. Like, spoiler, there is a gangbang in one of his other books. I just thought about, like, there's somebody who is doing a read-through, so I don't want to say. And I'm just like, can we stop with the prepubescent body descriptions? And I know that right now, the internet is trying to cancel Stephen King. I won't let him be canceled. I alone stand at the precipice blocking him. Like, if you watched Zack Snyder's 4-hour Justice League, and when Aquaman came and he stopped that water with his trident, that's me stopping the internet from canceling Stephen King. I get why he uses the N-word. It's not like Quentin Tarantino. It's not the same. It's sprinkled through with some of these crazy people. How many times, y'all know, white people, y'all know people say the N-word around y'all, and I think he's just using it that way. It is nothing like what we let Quentin Tarantino get away with, and nobody's trying. Come on. But I will say, Stephen King, I love you, but stop describing children's body parts. That's what I have to say about that. Now, Bloodlines was the book I just finished last night, actually. Kindle read it to me on Alexa read it to me. It was a Kindle book, but Alexa read it to me. This girl is 1968, and it was really interesting because I thought to myself, this is telling. She said in the beginning, the girl says she's pregnant. She is pregnant by her boyfriend, and she's a big, not super large town. I forgot the town that they leave, but they leave a bigger town. And they're just kind of tired of big town stuff, and they want to, because King gets killed and all this kind of stuff, and there's riots, and she's like, I just want to escape and go to somewhere where I don't have to deal with any of this and think about this. And I was like, so, some of us can't escape this. So I just thought that was real interesting. So anyway, the girl and the guy, they just seem so in love. They're going back home to his hometown. The guy's dad has a job for him already. She'll work at the little tiny newspaper place that's there. She already knows it's not going to be as exciting as her job, but she's okay with it because she has a baby coming. This town is perfect. It's eerily perfect. It's like Stepford Wife perfect. And it's creepy as soon as you get there. The author is very good at writing it very creepy from the moment they get there. I mean, just every little thing, like, I can't even explain it. Like, every page, there's something like, why did the fluttering curtains creep me out just now? So the writer did a very good job. Jess Laurie, yeah. Oh, it's a girl. I got Jess Laurie. Jess Laurie is the writer. So I don't know why I assumed that this was a male, but she did a really good job of making it creepy all the way through. Well, the way she wrote these men, I guess that makes sense because anyway, the only thing that's hanging over this town is that they had a missing child, a child go missing. I don't know, like a decade before, and more and more and more, the town starts to kind of invade into the couple's life. The guy even changes. Her boyfriend starts to change. Everybody knows stuff about them that they shouldn't know. And then it all, at the end, falls apart. Like everything comes apart. Like all the crazy stuff comes apart. Everything comes together. Probably, I would say a 3, just because it was good, but didn't blow my socks off. Not going to read it again. I'll probably forget it after this, and it was good enough. It was good enough to listen to. It was a good enough palate cleanser. So a 3 to me is good. I know there's a lot of conversation in the community, especially people who do a lot of Goodreads, uses the Goodreads, 5 out of, I don't know why we have 5 stars. Why don't we have 6 so they can be a strike right in the middle? But 3 is good to me. 3 is the book did its job. It's just not outstanding in the sense that I'm not going to keep on thinking about it, keep on talking about it, keep on recommending it, reading it again, buying it in hardback or whatever because I read it on Kindle or listened to it. So it was a good enough book to get me back on the reading train after Lies She Told completely derailed me. So that's my super, super long wrap up. Making sure I didn't forget anything. That's my super long wrap up for March. If you got to the end of this, just put like praise hands because you made it. Bless you. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, ringing that bell. Be easy on yourself, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.